Okay, so let's take a look at how you can draw Pie3D plot in R. So first thing, we will take a look at RStudio, and within which we will be installing this library called plotrix. Right, so let it load. Meanwhile, what I can do is I can go to tools, install packages, and here we will be using plotrix. So let's search for that. So plotrix, right, install. Now once we do that, we'll have to create some data to feed our Pie3D chart, right? So let's create a script, plotrix, right, and here I'll have to put in data, right, and then pass on 19, 21, 54, 12, 36 and 12, right? Once we do that, we can have Pie3D and pass it our data, right? So let's start with executing this to see how it works, right? So basically what we'll do is we will click run, then run the data. Here you can see our data, right, and then run our Pie3D statement. We zoom and check, our Pie3D looks something like this. We haven't added any legend option as of now, so we'll do that later. Now let's try and experiment with few things. Let's see if we can add radius, so 0.5 or 0.75, right? So if I run this, right, as you can see, it will change the radius. You can make it a bit different with 2.5. Let's see small it gets, right? Here you see radius will make it smaller. Let's make it 9.5 or 8.5. Let's go with 9.5. Run this and we have something to zoom over. Right, now we managed to work with radius. Next thing is working with height, right? So if we work with height, we will have to use some values, so 0.2, and here see the height is changing, right? Let's say if I choose 0.6 and we run this, it should show you the height taken by this, right? So we work with radius, height. We can also work with angle. So for the angle we will be using theta. So theta set to something like 1.5, right? So if I run this, it should show you the angle change. So height and radius will be default in this state and angle will be changed. Now this looks a lot better. For those who want to show the actual values, they can experiment with the colors and show the Pie3D like this, right? Now what we can do is we will play around with color, right? So what we can do, we'll add one more thing here, which is color, right? And here we can give it CL colors, right? So here we will be adding, let's say instead of this, let me add length data, right? And I can also modify one more value, which is spectral. So that would be spectral color, right? So if I run this, and here however I will have to make that change, right? So instead of giving it a separate value, I will have to pass it here, right? So if I run this, it should show me the updated Pie3D, right? So here you can change the angle and make it look a bit better, right? So theta set to, let's see, 1.2, right? Here I can run this and zoom it for better view. As you can see, now it looks better. So keeping the color changes, what we can do, we can also remove the border, right? So let's try and take this to next line, right? And here I will add comma, and then I will also add border, call it white. Let's run this, and here you see the border is white now. So in some color palette it may look good, and for some it may not look that good, right? So experiment with your color palettes, right? You can also check the shade, so we can use shade set to, let's say, value around 0.5 to 1, right? So if we run this, let's see what happens. So there is a shade, you can see here, looks good, not for this color palette. So depending on your colors you can remove that, right? Next thing is labels, right? So let's say label, and we pass data. If I run this, we get label around our Pie3D. So each slice get its value next to it. The value is basically our data, right? So we managed to look at colors, then angle, then border, shade, then labels, right? You can also give. Okay, so what we can do now is we will add labels, give it data, and we can also add explode option. So explode, and here we can give it value around 2, right? Say if I run this, and here you can see our Pie3D is now exploded into pieces. Along with it gets the shade, right? And we also have our label, right? So there are values that we can experiment with label color, right? So let's see if it allows us those. So label character expansion, so here we can do it for, let's say, 0.75 or some value, right? So 0.75, then comma, right? So if I run this, hopefully it should not cause error. We got our expansion, right? Notice that our labels gone smaller, right? So that is one. Another is label color, right? So here I can go with red. Hopefully it should not cause conflict, otherwise I will have to wrap that part up. Now we have our labels too, right? So here we have red, right? So some of the things that we have looked at is Pie3D basic chart. Just by passing in data, then we managed to change the color, right? Then we have angle, then border, then shade, then labels, and label expansion, label color, and explode of our Pie3D, right? So these are some of the things that we have done, and we got the values, right? So hopefully you would find some of these examples useful for your use case. Okay, so let's try now mix few things here. So let me get rid of this current set of values, and here what I will do is I will try to put percentage next to the Pie3D. So for now let's go with running the default view, right? So this is the view we have right now. If you want, you can add theta if you want. So theta to 0.4 value, right? That would be good enough, right? So anything tilted you can experiment, right? So we have tilted one. Now we will have to add the percentage option. For that we will use lab and then use paste 0, right? So for paste 0 we'll be passing in few values around, and within the round can put data divided by sum into data, right, multiplied by 100, right? So that would be one thing. And also I will have to think of, let's say, value of 2, right? Now the next thing would be our option of percent, right? So percent, we have everything set, right? Hopefully it will take that. So we have our lab value, so we have percentage each next to our data, right? So I will have to use the option of giving labels set to this lab, right? So if I run this, our chart should get the percentage next to them, and here we have it. As you can see, we managed to add percentage to our Pie3D chart, right? So we have pretty much completed some of the basic things that we can do with Pie3D function.